You ever notice how the people who seem the most awake, the most aware, the most tuned in, are also the ones everyone else thinks are a little off? They cancel plans. They disappear for days. They laugh at things that aren't funny. They cry over things that don't make sense. And if you're one of those people, you've probably been called dramatic, oversensitive, flaky, or just plain weird. But here's the thing, you're not crazy, you're conscious. And consciousness, in a world that's mostly asleep, looks like insanity. Carl Jung knew this. He said, the acceptance of oneself is the essence of the moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook upon life. What he meant was, when you start waking up, when you start seeing things other people can't see, feeling things they don't feel, knowing things they refuse to know, you stop fitting into the boxes society built. And people who are still asleep, don't know what to do with you. So they label you too much, too deep, too sensitive, too weird. But what if those things they call weird are actually signs that you've accessed a level of awareness most people will never reach? What if the behaviors that make you feel like an outsider are proof that you're awake in a world that's sleepwalking? In this video, we're walking through 7 strange things highly conscious people do that seem absolutely insane to everyone else. And if you've done even 3 of these, you're going to realize something powerful. You're not broken, you're awake. And the world wasn't built for people like you. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means there's something right with you that most people haven't figured out yet. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, judged, or like you're living on a different planet than everyone else, this one's for you. Because it's time to stop apologizing for being conscious and start owning it. Let's go.
Number 1. The first strange thing highly conscious people do that makes everyone think they've lost it. They talk to themselves. Out loud. Not just in their heads. Full conversations. Processing thoughts. Working through emotions. Debating decisions. And if someone walks in on them, they look like they're having a breakdown. But they're not. They're doing something most people never learn how to do. They're externalizing their inner world so they can see it clearly. Jung called this active imagination, the process of engaging with your unconscious by giving it a voice. When you talk to yourself, you're not going crazy. You're creating dialogue between your conscious mind and the deeper parts of yourself that don't always speak in words. You're organizing chaos. You're making sense of the noise. You're integrating. And yeah, to someone who's never done this, it looks weird as hell. But to you, it's necessary. Because your mind moves fast. Your thoughts are layered. And sometimes the only way to untangle them is to say them out loud, to hear yourself, to witness your own process. Most people think in circles. You think out loud. And that's not madness, that's clarity. A guy once told me he thought he was losing his mind. He'd be driving to work, talking himself through a decision. Okay, so if I take this job, I'm gonna have more money, but I'm gonna hate my life. But if I don't take it, I'm gonna stress about bills. But what's the point of money if I'm miserable? Full-on conversation with himself, out loud. And one day his coworker got in the car and heard him. She looked at him like he'd just escaped a psych ward. Dude, are you okay? And for a second he felt embarrassed, like he'd been caught doing something wrong. But then he realized, no, this is how I process. This is how I figure things out. And honestly, more people should try it. Because the alternative is what? Keeping everything locked inside? Letting thoughts pile up until you can't think straight? Pretending you've got it all figured out when you're screaming internally? Nah. Talking to yourself isn't a sign you're falling apart. It's a sign you're self-aware enough to work through your own complexity. And that's rare. Most people don't even know what they're thinking. They just react, repeat patterns, live on autopilot. But you're narrating your own evolution. And if that looks crazy to other people, that's their problem, not yours. From a neuroscience perspective, talking to yourself actually activates different parts of your brain than thinking silently. When you speak out loud, you engage your auditory processing. You hear your own words. You create distance between you and your thoughts. And that distance gives you perspective. It lets you observe your thinking instead of being consumed by it. So yeah, talk to yourself. Process out loud. Work through the mess in real time. Because the people who judge you for it, they're probably the same ones who bottle everything up and then wonder why they're anxious all the time. You're doing the work, and the work doesn't always look pretty, but it's real and it's necessary. And honestly, the fact that you do this is proof you're operating on a level most people aren't even aware exists. So next time someone catches you talking to yourself, don't apologize. Just smile, because you know something they don't. You know that consciousness requires conversation, even if it's just with yourself.
Number 2. The second strange thing highly conscious people do, they cancel plans, last minute. Not because they're flaky, not because they don't care, but because their energy shifted. And they can't fake it anymore. You made the plan 3 weeks ago. You were excited. You said yes. But now, the day comes and you feel it. A heaviness, a resistance, a deep knowing that says, if I go, I'm going to be drained for days. So you cancel. And people get mad. You always do this. You're so unreliable. Why'd you even say yes in the first place? And you can't explain it. Because how do you tell someone, I can feel that this event is going to drain my soul? How do you say, my energy is telling me no? You can't. Not to people who don't understand energy. So you end up looking like the flaky friend, the unreliable one, the person who can't commit. But here's the truth. You're not flaky. You're protecting your frequency. Jung understood this deeply. He talked about how certain people, certain environments, certain situations can drain your psychological energy. And when you're someone who's highly conscious, you feel that drain immediately. It's not in your head, it's in your body. Your nervous system knows before your mind catches up. And when you ignore that knowing, when you push through anyway because you don't want to seem rude, you pay for it. Days of exhaustion, brain fog, emotional heaviness, all because you went somewhere your energy told you not to go. So yeah, you cancel, and people don't get it. But you're not canceling because you're selfish. You're canceling because you've learned the hard way that protecting your energy is non-negotiable. A woman I know used to say yes to everything, every birthday party, every work event, every girls' night. She didn't want to be the person who let people down, but after every event, she'd come home completely wrecked. Not tired, depleted, like someone had pulled the plug on her life force. And it would take her 3 days to recover. 3 days of silence, 3 days of barely functioning just to get back to baseline. Until one day, she realized, this isn't worth it. I'm spending half my life recovering from things I didn't even want to do. So she started saying no, or canceling when her body screamed at her to stay home. And yeah, people were upset. Some friends stopped inviting her. Some called her flaky. But you know what she gained? Her life back, her energy back, her peace back. And the people who truly mattered, the ones operating on the same frequency, they got it. They didn't need an explanation. They just said, no worries, take care of yourself, because they were doing the same thing. Here's the thing most people don't understand. Conscious people don't live by social obligation. They live by energetic alignment. And when something's out of alignment, their body refuses to cooperate. It's not flakiness. It's self-preservation. It's honoring the inner voice that says, this isn't for you right now. And if that makes you unreliable in someone else's eyes, so be it. Because you'd rather be authentic than destroy yourself trying to please people who don't even understand what you're protecting. From a biological standpoint, this is your nervous system doing its job. When you're highly sensitive, highly aware, your nervous system picks up on subtleties other people miss. The energy of a room, the unspoken tension, the emotional undercurrents. And when it senses something that's going to dysregulate you, it sends a signal, a feeling, a knowing. And if you've learned to trust that, you cancel, you protect, you honor yourself. And honestly, that's not weakness, that's wisdom. So the next time you cancel plans and someone calls you flaky, remember this: you're not avoiding life, you're curating it. You're choosing quality over quantity, depth over obligation, alignment over approval. And that is something most people will never understand. But you don't need them to. You just need to trust yourself.
Number 3. The third strange thing highly conscious people do: they cry. For no apparent reason. You're watching a commercial. A random song comes on. You see a stranger smile at their kid, and boom, tears. Not because you're sad, not because something's wrong, but because you felt something. Something deep. Something most people walk right past without noticing. And to everyone else, you look like you're having a breakdown. Are you okay? What's wrong? Do you need to talk about it? And you're like, I don't even know why I'm crying, which makes you feel even crazier. But here's what's actually happening. You're not crying because you're broken. You're crying because you're open. Jung believed that emotions aren't just personal, they're collective. When you're highly conscious, your emotional boundaries become more porous. You don't just feel your own stuff. You feel the grief in the room, the joy, the pain people are hiding, the beauty no one else stops to notice. You're like an emotional antenna, picking up frequencies most people have learned to tune out. And sometimes those frequencies hit you, and your body's only response is tears. Not because you're weak, but because you're awake. A guy once told me he cried in the middle of a grocery store. He was walking past the flower section, and he saw this old man standing there, holding a bouquet of roses, just staring at them. And something about it, the tenderness, the story he'd never know, it broke him open, right there in the produce aisle. Tears streaming down his face, and an employee walked up like, "Sir, are you all right?" He couldn't even explain it, because how do you say, "I just felt the weight of love and loss in a stranger holding flowers"? You can't. So you just wipe your eyes and move on, feeling like a weirdo. But you're not weird. You're feeling what most people have numbed themselves to. Most people have built walls so thick they don't feel anything unless it directly affects them. But you, your walls came down, and now you feel everything. The beauty, the pain, the absurdity, the sacredness of ordinary moments. And yeah, it's overwhelming sometimes. Yeah, it makes you cry at random times, but it also means you're alive, truly alive. Not just existing, not just going through the motions, but feeling the full weight and wonder of being human. From a scientific lens, this is emotional permeability. Highly sensitive people have nervous systems that process emotions more deeply. Your amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, is more active. You don't just observe emotions, you embody them. And when something touches that part of you, even something small, the tears come. Not as a malfunction, as a release. As proof that you're still connected to the things that matter. So if you cry easily, if random moments break you open, if people think you're too emotional,
Know this: you're not too much, you're just awake. And in a world that's mostly numb, that's gonna look strange, but it's also beautiful.
Number 4. The fourth strange thing highly conscious people do: they disappear for days, sometimes weeks. No texts, no calls, no social media, just gone. And people freak out. Where have you been? Why didn't you respond? I thought something happened to you. And you're like, I just needed space. But to them, that sounds like an excuse, because most people don't understand the need for complete isolation. They think solitude means loneliness, that silence means something's wrong. But for you, isolation isn't avoidance, it's integration. After you've been out in the world, absorbing energy, feeling everything, navigating people's emotions, you need time alone. Not to escape, to process, to come back to yourself, to remember who you are when no one's watching. Jung called this withdrawal into the inner world. He believed that consciousness requires periods of solitude, not as punishment, but as recalibration. When you're constantly around others, constantly stimulated, constantly on, you lose contact with your deeper self, the part of you that doesn't perform, the part that just is. And if you don't create space to reconnect with that part, you start feeling fragmented, scattered, like you're living someone else's life. So you disappear. You turn off your phone, you cancel everything, you spend 3 days in your apartment doing absolutely nothing. And it feels necessary, like oxygen. A woman once told me she goes into what she calls her hermit mode every few months. No warning, no explanation, she just vanishes. Her friends used to take it personally. Did I do something wrong? Are you mad at me? But she's not mad. She's not avoiding them. She's just full of other people's energy, full of noise, full of the world, and she needs to empty out, to sit in silence, to let everything settle so she can hear herself again. And after a few days, she comes back, clearer, lighter, more herself. And the friends who get it, they never question it. They just say, "Welcome back," because they know she's not running from them, she's running toward herself. Here's what most people don't realize. Solitude isn't the same as loneliness. Loneliness is feeling empty when you're alone. Solitude is feeling full. It's choosing yourself, choosing stillness over distraction, choosing depth over constant connection. And for highly conscious people, that choice isn't optional. It's survival. Because if you don't create space to be alone with your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, you burn out. You lose yourself in the noise. You start living on autopilot, and everything you've worked so hard to build, the awareness, the clarity, the alignment, it all fades. So, yeah, you disappear sometimes. You go silent. You retreat into your own world, and people think it's weird. They think you're antisocial, or depressed, or avoiding life. But you're not avoiding life. You're protecting it. You're protecting the inner world that keeps you sane, the stillness that keeps you grounded, the silence that keeps you connected to what's real. From a neurological standpoint, this is your brain's way of preventing overstimulation. When you're highly aware, your brain processes more information than the average person, more emotional data, more sensory input, more energetic exchanges. And if you don't give your nervous system time to reset, it stays in a state of hyper-arousal, always on edge, always alert, always exhausted. But when you withdraw, when you create intentional solitude, your nervous system gets to rest. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and self-regulation, gets to come back online, and you return to baseline, calm, clear, yourself again.
So if you need days of complete silence, if you ghost people without explanation, if you retreat into yourself like it's a religion, you're not broken. You're not antisocial. You're just awake. And awake people need space. Space to integrate, space to process, space to just be, without explanation, without apology, without anyone needing anything from you.
Number 5. The fifth strange thing highly conscious people do. They laugh at the wrong times. You're in a serious meeting. Someone's talking about something important, and you start laughing. Not because it's funny, but because you just saw the absurdity of it all. The performance, the pretending, the way everyone's playing a role they don't even believe in. And it hits you, and you can't help it. You laugh, and everyone looks at you like you just lost your mind. What's so funny? And you can't explain it, because what are you going to say? I just realized we're all pretending to care about this PowerPoint while secretly wondering what's the point of any of this? Yeah, that's not going to go over well. So you just say, sorry, nothing, and try to pull it together. But inside, you're still laughing, because once you see the absurdity, you can't unsee it. Jung talked about this. He said that people who reach higher levels of consciousness start seeing life as both tragic and comedic. They see the drama, the seriousness everyone attaches to things that don't actually matter, and they can't help but laugh. Not in a mean way, but in a, wow, we're all just making this up as we go kind of way. It's like waking up inside a play and realizing everyone else still thinks it's real. A guy once told me he got in trouble at a funeral. Someone was giving a eulogy, talking about how the deceased lived life to the fullest. And he started laughing, not loudly, but enough that people noticed, and they were horrified. His own family looked at him like he was a monster, but he wasn't being disrespectful. He just saw the irony. This person spent their entire life working a job they hated, never traveled, never took risks, never did the thing they actually wanted to do. And now, at their funeral, everyone's pretending they lived some incredible life. And the absurdity of it, the tragedy, the comedy, it all hit him at once. And he laughed, not because death is funny, but because humans are. We lie to ourselves. We perform for each other. We build entire lives around things that don't matter. And then we die, and everyone pretends it all made sense when it didn't. And if you're conscious enough to see that, yeah, you're gonna laugh at weird times, because the alternative is crying. And sometimes laughter is the only sane response to an insane world. From a psychological perspective, this is called cognitive reframing. You're able to see situations from multiple angles. You're not stuck in one emotional response. You can hold tragedy and comedy at the same time. You can see the seriousness and the absurdity. And that duality, that ability to zoom out and see the bigger picture, that's rare. Most people are so identified with the drama they can't step back. But you can. And when you do, you see how ridiculous most of it is. The petty arguments, the inflated egos, the way people take themselves so seriously. And you laugh, not to be cruel, but because what else can you do? You can't control the chaos. You can't make people see what they're not ready to see. But you can laugh. You can find the humor in the absurdity. You can refuse to take the performance seriously. And yeah, people will judge you for it. They'll think you're insensitive, inappropriate, out of touch. But you're not. You're just awake. And awake people see the cosmic joke, the beautiful, tragic, ridiculous joke of human existence. And sometimes, laughter is the only honest response. So if you laugh at funerals, or during serious conversations, or when everyone else is being solemn, you're not broken. You're just seeing something they're not. And that's okay. Let them judge. You know the truth. Life is absurd. And the people who can laugh at that are the ones who've truly understood it.
Number 6. The sixth strange thing highly conscious people do: they avoid crowds. Not because they hate people, but because crowds drain them. Concerts, festivals, packed bars, shopping malls on a Saturday. Most people love that energy, the buzz, the excitement, the feeling of being part of something. But you feel like you're drowning. Too many voices, too many emotions, too much everything. And within 20 minutes, you're looking for the exit. Not because you're antisocial, but because your system is overloaded. You're picking up on every conversation around you, every emotion in the room, every energetic frequency colliding into each other. And it's overwhelming. Jung understood this as energetic saturation. When you're highly conscious, your awareness doesn't have an off switch. You can't just tune out. You absorb. And in a crowd, there's too much to absorb. So your nervous system goes into overdrive, fight or flight, even though there's no actual threat, just too much input. A woman told me she used to force herself to go to concerts because that's what people her age did. But every time, she'd end up in the bathroom, hiding, trying to breathe, feeling like she was going to pass out. And she thought something was wrong with her, like she was broken or anxious or just couldn't handle life. But then she learned about energetic sensitivity, and everything clicked. She wasn't broken, she was just wired differently. Her nervous system was processing 100 times more information than the average person in that crowd, and it couldn't handle it. So now, she doesn't go. She doesn't force it. She doesn't apologize for it. She just knows her limits, and she honors them. Here's the thing. Most people go to crowded places to feel connected, but highly conscious people already feel connected to everything, all the time. They don't need a crowd to feel alive. They feel the aliveness in a quiet morning, in a conversation with one person, in the silence of their own thoughts. Crowds don't add to that. They take from it. They scatter the energy. And for someone who's already deeply attuned, that fragmentation feels like chaos. From a biological standpoint, this is sensory processing sensitivity. Your brain takes in more sensory data than most. Sights, sounds, smells, emotions, energy. And in a crowd, all of that gets amplified. Your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, stays activated because it's trying to process everything at once, and it can't. So it sends distress signals, anxiety, overwhelm, the desperate need to leave. And if you ignore those signals, if you push through because you don't want to seem weird, you crash hard. Days of exhaustion, emotional hangovers, complete depletion, all because you went somewhere your system told you not to go. So yeah, you avoid crowds, you skip the festivals, you say no to the packed events, and people don't get it. You're missing out. You need to get out more. You're being too much of a hermit. But they don't understand. You're not missing out. You're protecting yourself. You're honoring your wiring. You're choosing quality over chaos. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need a crowd to feel alive. You feel alive in the stillness, in the depth, in the one-on-one connections that actually nourish you. And if that makes you weird, so be it. Because you'd rather be weird and grounded than normal and depleted. So the next time someone judges you for skipping the party, remember this: you're not antisocial, you're not boring, you're just conscious. And conscious people protect their energy, even when it looks strange to everyone else.
Number 7. The seventh and final strange thing highly conscious people do: they connect with strangers instantly, deeply. You meet someone for the first time, and within 5 minutes, you're talking about life, death, meaning, purpose. Not small talk, not surface stuff. Real conversation, like you've known each other for years. And everyone around you is confused. Wait, you just met? Yeah, but it doesn't feel that way. Because when you're operating on a higher frequency, you recognize other souls operating on that same frequency, instantly. Jung called this phenomenon soul recognition, the moment when two conscious people meet and something clicks. Not romantic, not even friendly in the traditional sense, just recognition. Like, oh, you see it too. You see the absurdity, the beauty, the tragedy, the thing underneath all the noise that most people never acknowledge. And when you meet someone else who sees it, you don't waste time on pleasantries. You go straight to the depths, because that's where the real connection lives. A guy told me he met someone at a coffee shop. They were both waiting in line, made eye contact, and something shifted. They started talking, and within 10 minutes, they were discussing fear of death, the meaning of suffering, whether any of this matters. The barista thought they were old friends, but they'd literally just met. And by the time they left, they both felt like they'd known each other forever. Not because they had some magical connection, but because they were both awake. And awake people don't have time for fake. They cut through the bullshit. They meet each other in the truth. And that truth creates instant intimacy. Here's what's wild. Most people spend years with someone and never have a real conversation. But conscious people, they can have a real conversation with a stranger in 5 minutes because they're not afraid of depth. They're not hiding behind social scripts. They're just present. And presence creates connection, real connection, the kind most people are starving for but don't know how to access. From a psychological standpoint, this is authentic relating. You're not performing. You're not trying to impress. You're not filtering yourself through what you think the other person wants to hear. You're just being. And when you meet someone else who's also just being, the connection is instant. Because there's no wall, no pretense, no performance. Just two souls seeing each other clearly. And that is rare. So rare that when it happens, it feels like magic. But it's not magic. It's just what happens when two people drop the mask at the same time. So if you've ever met a stranger and felt like you've known them forever, if you've ever had a 5-minute conversation that felt more real than years with some people, if you've ever connected deeply with someone you'll probably never see again, you're not weird. You're just awake. And awake people find each other, no matter where, no matter when. Because consciousness recognizes itself, always.
So if you recognized yourself in even 4 of these, you're not crazy, you're conscious. And consciousness, in a world that's mostly asleep, is gonna look weird. You're gonna seem flaky, too sensitive, too intense, too much. But here's what they don't tell you. The people who call you too much are usually the ones who aren't enough. Not enough depth, not enough awareness, not enough courage to face what you're facing every single day. You talk to yourself because you're processing consciousness. You cancel plans because you're protecting your energy. You cry randomly because you're open to life. You disappear because you need to integrate. You laugh at the wrong times because you see the absurdity. You avoid crowds because you feel too much. And you connect with strangers because your soul recognizes other souls. None of that is weird. It's just awake. And here's the beautiful part. The more you own these things, the more you stop apologizing for them, the more you'll attract people who get it. People who do the same strange things. People who don't need you to explain, because they're living it too. Jung said it perfectly. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are,
And part of becoming who you are is accepting that you're never going to make sense to people who are still asleep. And that's okay. You're not here to fit in. You're here to wake up and stay awake, even when it's lonely, even when it's misunderstood, even when the world calls you crazy. Because the truth is, you're not crazy. You're just, finally, seeing clearly. If this video made you feel seen, leave one word in the comments. Awake, seen, understood, strange, free, whatever feels true. And if you know someone who does these weird things, share this with them. Because sometimes the best gift you can give someone is letting them know they're not alone. Subscribe to SYC Soul for more content that speaks to the ones who see differently. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being weird. Thank you for being awake. The world needs more people like you, even if it doesn't know it yet.